friends, and welcome back to Handmade Not Hallmark. Amanda here. We are on card number 10 of my Christmas series for this year. Today I wanted to share with you this really sweet snowman image from Art Impressions using some ink blending and my colored pencils. I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. I'm going to be using this Art Impressions stamp set Christmas Slimline. This is a really fun set. The dies are included, so if you wanted to use those. But today I'm going to do some masking. Now, this seems a little weird. I'm using Desert Storm cardstock. Desert Storm is one of my favorite cardstocks to use with my colored pencils. It gives a nice muted tone to your images, and I haven't done it yet in this series, and I was super excited to use this particular image for this card. I think he is so sweet. It makes me feel like he's, traveling a long ways to get where he wants to go. I'm using some Onyx black ink from VersaFine. This is my favorite black ink to use with my colored pencils, and I'm not going to remove the stamp after I'm done here because I'm going to re-stamp over top of my colored penciling afterwards, because the colored pencil sometimes leaves a film on your cardstock, and restamping over top of it really gets those black detail lines to show up. Once I had that all stamped down, I'm just going to hit it with my heat gun just to make sure that the ink is nice and dry so that I don't smudge it. I have here some masking paper. You could easily use the dies with this to save you a step, but I didn't want to add too much bulk to this card. And I wanted to try this technique where you ink blend with oxides over top of the craft paper or this Desert Storm. I've seen several designers do this before, and I always love the kind of muted look that you get, and that's kind of what I was going for here. I felt like the snowman was very kind of vintage looking, so I wanted to have a nice muted color tone for this card. So using the Desert Storm really helps you achieve that, especially with the colored pencils and then with the Oxide inks. So I just cut out this mask off camera just to save some time, and I'm just lining it up with my image. Again, you could easily just stamp him and cut him out using the dies, but I really wanted to kind of minimize the bulk. And I'm just taking some extra masking paper here, cutting a really simple kind of like edge. I didn't want it to be completely straight. I added some waves to it just so I could have a ground, because I'm going to ink blend with some white pigment ink as well. So once I get all the masking done, I'm going to get out my Oxide inks. I'm going to be using Spun Sugar, Shaded Lilac, and Chipped Sapphire. This has become one of my favorite color combinations, if you haven't picked up on that already, but I really liked it here with this scene. Again, this cardstock is going to give it kind of a muted tone, which I think really goes with the idea that I wanted this to be kind of a vintagey look. I'm going to speed through the ink blending here, but again, if you want something that's these colors to really pop and be vibrant, I would suggest using your regular white cardstock. But again, I really love the way that this turned out. This muted color tone, I think, is just fantastic. Just the way that it looks, I think, is really awesome. I might have to do this technique again. Like I mentioned, I've seen several card makers do this where they ink blend on this Neenah, or they ink blend on other colored cardstocks with oxides, and I just think it's fabulous. While I'm ink blending here, I can't believe we're on card 10 already of my series, and I still have so many more ideas that I want to share with you. Lots of great things have come out recently, and I know I mentioned in my little community page that I had a couple of sick kiddos, but they're all better now. Everybody's back to school and, raring to go. But the news that I had was that I am going to be joining some design teams. A few companies have reached out to me about joining their design teams, and I'm really excited about that. But once I have more information, I'll share all that with you guys. But I was really excited that some companies have reached out to me about joining their design teams. It's always been a dream of mine to be on a design team, and I was really excited to hear that they were interested in having me join. Again, like I mentioned, once I have some more information, I will release all of that, but I just thought I would share that awesome news with you guys. Once I had all the ink blending finished, I took off the masks, and again, this is one of my favorite things whenever you see your masks turned out perfectly. I tried to preserve this mask as best I could, but it was just so finely detailed that I did tear it a little bit. It wasn't too difficult to cut out, so I'll probably just recut out another mask if I need to. Again, I try to save my masks as best I can, but this one couldn't really be saved. The paper curled up too much. So I just took that same border that I cut out earlier and just lined it up with the bottom of my panel here so I could ink blend with some of this Hero Arts Unicorn pigment ink. This is really similar to Oxides. Oxides have pigment in them. That's what makes them, you know, the way that they are. And this white pigment ink worked out perfect because ink blending on top of this Neenah cardstock really muted the white as it dried, and it really complemented the Oxide inks that I chose earlier. Once I have that all done, I'm going to hit it with my heat gun a little bit, and I kind of set it off to the side to dry completely before I went into my coloring. I'm going to go right into the color pencil coloring, and once we're all finished, we'll come back and finish up this card together. I chose any colors that I liked. You can choose what you like. I'll link to the set that I have below, and we'll catch up when we're all finished.
Hurry now, should have been done by now. Seems we're running late. Let's put the food on the table, fast as we're able. Guests are coming at 8. When we're caught in the Christmas rush, it's so easy to lose touch with the true meaning of things and what really matters. Just look up in the December night. There is one star shining bright. It shines on one and all. Shine on, Christmas star. Shine on. Simmer down, pass a big smile around. Now that everything is gold, the children hunker down to see what's hidden beneath the Christmas tree. Look but not touch, they're told. When we're caught in the Christmas rush, it's so easy to lose touch with the true meaning of things and what really matters. Just look up in the December night. There is one star shining bright. It shines on one and all. Shine on, Christmas star. Shine on, Christmas star. Shine on. Look up in the December night. There is one star shining bright. It shines on one and all. On this cold Christmas star. Shine on, Christmas star. Shine on, Christmas star. Shine on, Christmas star. Shine on.
Christmas, a time for miracles, wishing to find a remedy, hoping for better days to come. Memories of flickering shadows, cold nights, hearing the wind blows the snowflakes, reminds me of something gone. Send me lights and angels, help me through the changes, and I'll be waiting on Christmas night. Show me hope and glory, write us a different story, and I'll be waiting on Christmas night.
and everything's bright. Everyone's happy, the spirits are light. I am sitting here thinking, alone with my drink, as I do this time of the year. Do you remember when love was around? When we were aglow, the talk of the town. When I'm sitting here drinking, I can't help but think about you, about us, as I do this time of the year.
Now that I was all finished with my coloring, you can see here that there's a little bit of a film over top of some of those detailed lines. So this is where I'm going to do my restamping, and that's why I didn't remove my stamp, or I didn't cut out my panel ahead of time. So I knew I would get it lined up perfectly using that same Oxide inks, and I just love the way that this looks. After you do all that coloring, it's a little nerve-wracking just making sure that you have it all lined up because you do all that hard work. But once you get it lined up and you stamp it down, I think it looks fantastic. It really accentuates all of those details that the artist drew, and I think he really shines. Next, I'm going to take my card base here. This is just some Simon 110-pound cardstock that I have cut to 8.5 by 7, and I'm going to score it at 3.5 to create my slimline card base. I thought about kind of matting it with some other color, but I really like the nice white frame that this cardstock gives to our little scene here. I did think about, you know, adding some stenciling or something like that with the snow in the background, but I really wanted the snowman to shine and be the focus of this card. Next, I'm going to take some nested slimline dies from Waffle Flower, and I'm going to cut out my panel now that I have everything, you know, all inked and dried and ready to go. I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine, and we'll be getting ready to add some finishing details and assemble our card. Next, I wanted to add my greeting. I'm just using the same greeting from that same Christmas Slimline set that says warm wishes for a Merry Christmas. And I love using just one stamp set to create a card. You know, it just helps to kind of minimize the supplies that you use. And I'm just using some clear embossing ink from Simon. And you're going to see here that I started stamping this, and then I didn't like the way it looked, so I brushed it away. That's one of the things that I like about heat embossing. If you don't get a good impression and you're in the middle of doing something and you notice that your embossing powder doesn't really stick very well, or it just doesn't look right, before you heat emboss it, you can brush it away with a dry brush and just re-stamp it. And that's what I did here. I didn't like the way that it looked. It looked really kind of broken up, and I could tell that the embossing powder wasn't sticking because I didn't have enough ink on the sheet. So I just brushed it away with a dry paintbrush and I re-stamped it. As long as you don't remove your stamp or anything like that, you can easily do this. So I just re-stamped it, and I really pressed down, and I got a better impression this time around, and it adhered really well. I'm using Brutus Monroe Alabaster White embossing powder. This is my favorite embossing powder. If you don't know that already, I mention it almost every time that I use it. Super bright white, and I really think it complements this card as well. Once I had that all done, I'm going to add some snowflake splatter. Again, this can be a little bit of a scary thing as well. You do all of that coloring, but I really wanted this to show a snowy scene that he is walking through the snow to make it home for Christmas. I'm just using some white gouache from Winsor & Newton and a little bit of shimmer spray that I created. I just took some Perfect Pearls and some water, and I just added it to a little spray bottle. And I'm just watering it down and flicking it on my scene. I love that I get some really nice big snowflakes and some really tiny ones. I really love the way that this looks, especially over top of the image. I didn't get too many on there, but it was enough to really add to the scene, and I thought it turned out fantastic. And I'll get that all splattered there, and I think he looks so great. I'm going to set that off to the side to dry, and I'm going to work on the inside portion of my card. I love that snowman so much that I decided I wanted to stamp him again, and I'm going to be using my favorite ink for stamping on the inside of my cards. I'm going to be using some fog ink from Simon, and I just cleaned off my stamp there, and I wanted to make sure I didn't have any black ink left. I did a little bit. You can see it a little bit when I stamped the fog ink, but I wasn't too concerned about it. I really like the look that you get with it. Makes it look like a vintage image. It goes along with the whole, you know, vintage vibe that I was going for. Get that stamped down. And I love seeing him on the inside of there. And it's nice and faint, so I'll be able to write a greeting over top of that. Hit it with my heat gun just to make sure it's nice and dry. Fog ink is a dye ink, so it dries pretty quickly, but I just like to double check and make sure that it's dry. Reinforce that fold with my bone folder, and we can attach our panel here. And I think it's neat how you've got all this beautiful color on the front, and it looks like it might have been done on, you know, white cardstock, but when you flip it over and you see that it's, you know, a craft, I think that is super cool. I love the colors, the way that they look on here. I think it really shines, really gives you a really cool like look and vibe to the card. Very soft, very muted. And I know you can use color Copics over top of Desert Storm as well, but I haven't ventured into that yet, but I think it looks cool too. Going in with a Sakura black Jelly Roll pen to brighten his eyes a little bit, and I'm going to take a white gel pen and do the same, just on some highlighted areas. And I do apologize if my head gets in the way. I obviously forgot where my camera was. So if you see like my glasses and all of my hair, I'm sorry. I really forgot where my camera was at, and I was just so in the zone. I really wanted to get this card finished. I was actually working on this card for like 3 days because I had to keep stopping, you know, because the kids were ill. You know, while they were napping, I would work on one, and then I would stop when they'd get up. So it was kind of like, this card really didn't take me that long. It's just I had other things going on, so it was a long process to get this card finished. So I was really excited when I did get it finished because I really love the way that it turned out. Again, just adding that highlight here and there on him just to kind of brighten him up a little bit. And then I added a little bit of white highlight to his eyes to really make them shine. I really think it adds a lot of character to his face, and I think he's so sweet. I love this little snowman. I've noticed that I've done a lot of snowman cards lately this year. I usually have a tendency to lean towards like Santa themed cards, but this year I've done a lot of snowman, and I really like it. Next, I'm going to add some dimensional snowflakes here. These are from Tailored Expressions. You could use any dimensional clay snowflakes, or you could you know, use a stamp and emboss some snowflakes on there, but I wanted to add just a little bit of dimension here. And I'm sorry that I'm out of frame a little bit. Sometimes these slimline cards are hard to get them all into frame. And I'm just using some Barely Art adhesive to attach these snowflakes. Get those attached here, and I love these little snowflakes. I think they're really sweet. No set order to, you know, how I added these snowflakes. I just placed them where I thought they looked nice. And then I'm going to go in with my Aqua Shimmer pen and add a little bit of shimmer to the lantern, the accessories on his little hat, the candy cane, and then I'll go in with some glossy accents. I've been loving glossy accents lately. I love adding them to cards. I really think it adds, you know, a nice dimension and interest to the cards. Especially if it's like something glass shaped or something that would have a little bit of a shine to it, I think is really cool. So I'll go in with that glossy accents on the lantern glass itself, the candy cane, the berries on his hat, and the buttons. And that will finish up this Slimline Snowman card. I really hope you enjoyed this card. I had a lot of fun creating it. I love coloring on craft with colored pencils. Colored pencils are some of my favorite mediums. And if you like this card, hit the like button as well as to subscribe. It is free to do, helps out my channel and the community. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I can't wait to share with you guys some more great cards coming your way. And I'll catch up with you guys again in the next one. Bye!
On screen, I've got a few videos that I think you'll enjoy. Consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more videos at my YouTube channel.